Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Olivia. I'm a gender-affirming voice teacher. I am a singing teacher, I'm a singer, and I am a songwriter. And in this video, I'm going to focus on songwriting. So I've been a songwriter since I could remember. I think I wrote a little song when I was like 4 years old, and it's always been a part of my life. So it's kind of my main outlet in terms of artistic expression, and it's really been an important part of my life. So songwriting can be kind of mysterious, I feel like, because it's kind of like, okay, where did that come from? Like, how do you just pull these things out of thin air? It's kind of magical in that way, really. But if you have never written a song, I wanted to do a little video about how to start, like how you can even start trying to write a song. So I'm going to talk about 3 of the main entry points, the 3 techniques that I use to begin writing a song. So let's get started. The first way that I will start to write songs is by starting out with poetry. So this is really how I first started. I loved poetry as a kid. It really was inspired by my grandpa, who would write these funny story poems that I loved. So I started writing poetry at a really young age and loved it. So if you really connect with words and stories and people, like this might be a good angle for you, or if you have other kinds of writing experience in some other capacity, this might be good for you. Or if, like, when you listen to music, you connect with the lyrics first, you're like, ooh, I love that song because of the message, like that really spoke to me. This could be a good angle for you to start with the lyrics or the poetry. So when I go this route, when I start with lyrics, oftentimes I just sit down and I just write whatever comes to me. So that could be a phrase, a word, a feeling. I could write a paragraph about, something that's coming to mind, just to get something on the page, just to like start to get something going. And from there, I start to kind of like shave it down and see if any themes emerge in what I'm writing about. Like, oh, seems like I'm upset about that thing. Like, maybe I'll write about that thing. So you can kind of see what emerges if you just kind of let yourself write whatever on the page. You could also sit down with a specific story or a specific topic in mind. That's also a great way to go at it. I don't typically do that, but I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people are like, okay, this happened to me, I'm gonna write a song about that thing. I tend to just sit down and kind of let what happens happen, but there's no right way, that is for sure. So that's could be a great option for you. The most important thing here is to not overthink it, to get some stuff on the page without judging, like, oh, well, that's a stupid phrase, or that's a stupid thing to say, or that was a stupid feeling that I had. Like, nothing is dumb. It's just, it is what it is. It doesn't have to be anything. When you put something on the page, it's not a final draft. It's not like your greatest achievement, your greatest work. Like, you can't put so much pressure on it. All it is a thought, and we're not even our thoughts, so just write it down. So you might see some patterns that start to appear, like maybe you start to write with some kind of pattern or a form, or maybe you don't. Either way, you can still set whatever you've written to music. You can either rhyme or you can not. You can also kind of go with words that sort of go together or sound good together but aren't exact rhymes. And there's stuff online you can like Google, like Rhyme Zone, I think is a website I've used, where there are certain rhymes, but then also words that are like kind of rhymes that you could use in your writing. So once you have something on the page, that might be 4 lines, that might be a single line, that might be a full poem, you can look at it and see if a melody kind of pops into your mind. You might just try saying the words aloud and see if there's a rhythm that starts to happen for you, or a melody that this line maybe can go up and this line goes down, or if there's shapes that sort of come up for you, or melody or rhythm. These are a couple books that I have used recently. They're written by the same author, Pat Pattison. I think Pat taught at Berkeley, maybe? College of Music, but they're like exercises. So they aren't really like songwriting, maybe writing better lyrics is, but writing better lyrics kind of is. But songwriting without boundaries is a cool one because it's basically just like these prompts to get you to start to describe things with all of your senses. And I think that this is a really cool exercise just to practice getting stuff on the page. So it's like, okay, put 10 minutes on the clock and then describe crash. And you just write like stream of consciousness stuff, the word crash. What does that come up? You know, what comes up for you? And it's a good way to just start generating ideas that may or may not ever be a song, but just a way to kind of keep the juices flowing. So if you don't want to start with the lyrics, you can also start with a melody. So you can try to sort of improvise a melody. Oftentimes for me, melodies come to me or like pop into my head when I'm doing other stuff, when I'm doing the dishes or I'm in the shower and I'm like, start to sing something like, oh, that just popped into my head. I think that's a common thing, you know, like if you're thinking too hard about something or like, I can't figure this out, maybe you walk away, do the dishes or go for a walk and then the answer comes to you. So those kind of exercises where you're doing something else and letting your mind kind of relax, and then those ideas can start to flow. Go for a walk, do a little dishes, you'll have a melody come into your head. So even if you just start by like humming a couple notes, or if you have an instrument playing a couple notes, okay, like I kind of like these notes together. Do-do. So maybe you start humming it and then you're kind of like, maybe it doesn't have to be a super complicated melody, but it's really more about the groove or the feel, the rhythm. Do-do. Do 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 do. So maybe it's more of like a rhythmic thing or like an instrumental thing, or maybe that is the melody. So it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Just kind of work with what comes to you. So sometimes I'll just like repeat things over and over again. If something comes to me, da da da. I'll just repeat that 3 billion times, and then maybe some words start to like appear through that. Call me at 9. Something like that, you know, like just like some words that sort of fit into the melody. And then from there, if something pops out like that, I'm like, call me at 9. Okay. So like, what could that mean for me? So that's just something that like popped into my head. So maybe that could be an idea, like, okay, call me at 9. You know, have I been in a situation where somebody was supposed to call me at 9 and they didn't? Or maybe I'm the one who was supposed to call at 9, or maybe there's a story I can tell, maybe, you know, a news story of something happening and, you know, somebody had to do something at 9 or something, you know, so you can kind of go different directions with whatever phrase or word comes to mind. See if you can somehow apply it to your life and use it as a starting point. And maybe that is just a starting point, and then you go off somewhere else, and maybe that line, call me at 9, doesn't even get used. But it can be kind of a jumping off point when you're trying to start with melody and then add lyrics. So you can also start with a chord progression. So if you play a little piano or guitar or ukulele or something like that, you can play a single chord. You can play 2 chords, 3 chords, 4 chords, whatever you want to do, and just repeat those a bunch. Repeat them a million times, and then you can start to improvise a melody based on those chords. So literally just humming over different chords, whatever comes to you, just see if you can try to put yourself inside of those chords and just kind of follow your ear. You can also use like a track that somebody made and put up online. I know there's stuff you can pay for, and I think there's probably free stuff. I've never really gotten into that, but that could be a great thing, a great place to start, because there's already like a vibe, like an instrumental vibe, maybe, you know, rhythmic thing that maybe can inform more of what the story is. Like if it's a really sad vibe, like, ooh, what's a really sad thing that happened to me? What can I write about? Or, or is this a happy vibe? Or is it a happy sound, but I'm gonna write a really sad lyric to it? You can kind of go off of the vibe that already exists in a track you find. So you can do the same thing with like a chord progression. I usually just play a chord progression a million times, kind of improvise a melody, see if any words come. But you can also just listen to the chords, play those chords. What's the vibe of the chords? Happy, sad. Same with using a track. And maybe you pause and then you write poetry, or maybe that's all in one go. Maybe you're doing the chords, the lyrics, and the melody all at the same time. There's no rules. You can do it however you like. So just remember that there is no correct way to write a song. A song is simply just an expression of you in that moment, or a story you need to tell, or something you need to process. It's hopefully an honest and beautiful thing. Writing a song can really be cathartic, I think. It definitely is for me. So if you are a songwriter, or if you're new to songwriting, I'd love to hear if you have some different approaches that you use. I would love to learn from you. And if there are other questions that you have about songwriting, I would love to attempt to answer them in a future video. So please let me know what's going on. Write it down in the comments. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.